Hi everyone, it's Kevin Jones with Life, Mind, and Money. Today we're going to be discussing what I believe are the top 5 worst purchases you could make as a consumer. While I know that there's many things out there we love to buy and have fun with, also recognize that these products out there can also really take away from our wealth building. So I want to kind of dive into what these 5 items are and things that I believe you should actually avoid in terms of when you go out there to make purchases. So let's begin. As always, if you already haven't done so, please smash that like button as it helps the channel a ton against the YouTube algorithm. And with that, let's get started. Let's begin our countdown from 5 to 1, and it all begins with number 5, and that is technology. As you can imagine, we all love our technology, from our phones to our laptops to our tablets. It runs the gamut. But the reality is that technology loses value very quickly. Also, many of us, especially when you're buying a phone, will end up leasing or financing those phones, which ends up costing us extra money in the process as well. That's why financially, technology is not a great buy. I also recognize that we use technology a lot in this world, but the reality is that we should kind of keep that to a minimum when we're out there looking for those purchases. While I recognize a lot of people like to be out front when technology comes out because it's the newest and greatest, the reality is early adopters will pay the most amount of money to get that technology. If we're willing to wait and be patient in terms of the product curve, we will actually save a lot of money if we were able to wait simply a matter of months in most cases. So that's why I would advise you that when we think about technology purchases, wait a little bit. Don't be that early adopter, because the reality is there's deals to be had everywhere when it comes to the technology needs that you want. So with that, don't be an early adopter and be careful when you're making your next technology purchase. All right, number 4 on our list, and that is jewelry. While I recognize women love the bling of the rings and the necklaces and the earrings, also men love the watches, most of the time the jewelry is actually overpriced when we buy it. Do recognize that the commodity market for precious metals fluctuates all the time. While I recognize now that gold prices and other metals like platinum or stuff are at all-time highs around now, do keep in mind that metals don't have any financial backing. There's nothing that actually supports behind them. So metals can go up and down at any point without any given reason. So if you're going to go buy jewelry, buy it because you love it and you want to appreciate it, but don't go crazy with it because it's not really a good investment. It's not going to go up over time like you may think. Just enjoy it for what it is and keep it to a minimum, because as you know, this is not a good financial decision because it's not going to make you money over the long term. All right, moving to number 3 on our list. And this one is going to probably surprise many, but honestly, it's a house. Especially for first-time home buyers, they have no idea what they're buying beyond just what they think they're going to spend on a mortgage. And when the reality is that there's many other costs involved, from insurance to general housekeeping to utilities and many more, that add up to hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over what actually they're paying for the home. And people are not prepared for that. Also keep in mind that many people buy a home on a 30-year fixed loan. While that sounds great because it keeps the payments down, you have no idea how much interest is actually going to the bank and actually increases your fees exponentially over time. Most people should be buying a home with a 15-year fix, because if they cannot work that within their own budgets, the reality is they probably shouldn't be buying that home in the first place, or they bought too much of a home and they should be sizing down. So just keep in mind that if you're going to go out and buy a home, make sure that you really understand the finances of actually working that into your budget and all the additional fees that come along with the process, because home buying is expensive. And while it can be a good investment the long term, do keep in mind that there's many things that you'll be hit with that you need to be prepared for when you make that first purchase, or if you've done it for many times before. Also, make sure you're in a good working environment, that you've got dependable income coming in so that you can actually make those house payments. Don't get yourself into buying a home simply because you love the neighborhood and you love the home. If you ultimately can't afford it because of the income that is coming into your own household, don't make the purchase, because it will end up biting you down the road. All right, moving on to number 2 on my list, and that is a brand new car. While we all love the fancy new smell of the car when we get into it, the reality is it's about one of the worst purchases you could ever make. When you drive that car off the lot, in most cases, the value of the car has already dropped 20%. Now think about that. Now that you've already lost value on the car, most likely you either bought the car by financing it up to 84 months, which is ridiculous in its own right because nobody should be spending money on a car for that long of term. If you're going to buy a car, you should be buying it with cash. Cash will actually free you up from paying interest to the bank and actually appreciate the car knowing that the value of it is going to be going down. Cars don't go up in value unless you're using a collectible, which most of us are not in that market. So just keep in mind that please, if you're going to buy a new car, one, don't do it under financing, or at worst, don't even do it when you're leasing it, because leasing it will actually put you back even further. That's basically renting a car and then handing the car right back to them. So what did you get for all that money? I have personally bought my last 3 vehicles all with cash. And I can't tell you how much joy it gives me knowing that I own the car outright and I don't have to deal with the financing of it, knowing that I'm throwing money away. When I'm ready, I have the cash ready to buy them and not having to think, hey, I'm just going to go buy a car today to amount all of this additional debt on me. Once again, we're trying to get out of debt and do things financially savvy. Ultimately, if you're going to purchase a car, I would rather you buy a used car a couple years old so that the initial depreciation has come off that vehicle so that you can get it at a good value at low miles. Also, once again, use cash. Cash will then prevent you from having to go to the bank. It means that you actually had the money to buy that purchase. Because as the gap widens and the value of the car goes down, and if you're paying interest to the bank, you end up losing even more money than you even realize at hand. So just keep in mind, when you're going to buy a car, do it smartly and do it with cash and look for a good used vehicle instead of going to a brand new one. And number 1 on my list is honestly should come to no surprise, but that is a boat or an RV. The reality is these things lose value like crazy. And I have my own personal story. I bought a boat when I was in my 20s because I thought I needed one. I thought it would be fun. But the reality is when I bought that boat, even though I bought it with cash, honestly started having issues right from the beginning. We all know the phrase of what boat means, right? And bust out another 1,000 really became true for me, and I lost thousands of dollars in the process. And by the time I got the boat finally fixed in a way that I could sell it, I got rid of it immediately. So don't fall into that same trap. Most RVs and boats, when you buy them new, I've heard that they're actually giving out mortgages of up to 20 years to purchase these things. That is absolutely ridiculous, especially when you shouldn't even be spending on a mortgage on a home for more than 15 years. So just think about the amount of money you would be throwing away to a bank where you could be using that to invest and actually grow your own nest egg for retirement or whatever else you want to do in your life. So the last thing you should ever do is an RV or boat. If you're going to do it, just make sure that you do it financially responsible, buy them used, buy them cheap, because these things fall in value all the time. So just go out there and make a good purchase. But the reality is I would avoid them at all costs. As you see the screen with the top 5 items that I gave today, just keep in mind that these are very much a part of American culture. While we love big and fancy, the reality is that none of these items will set you up financially for your future. They are simply what they are, and that is for fun. So if you have built a nest egg and you want to go have fun and take on these items, go for it. You have earned it. But the reality is that most Americans, need to think about where our money is going to help us grow for retirement and other things in our lives. And none of these items, honestly, should probably be on our list. So really take some time and think about it. Do I need these items? Because none of these will ultimately create the financial future that you're looking for. They will simply lose you money. Thanks for watching. In Life, Mind, and Money, we focus on money today. The reality is that there are a lot of things that we want in our lives, but they are not financially in our best interest. So I would urge you to use some patience and really figure out what you want and then build a financial plan to go get them. If you already haven't done so, smash that like button, as it helps the channel a ton. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so leave your comments below. And then lastly, hit that subscribe button, as we can use your support. As always, have a great day and we'll catch you next time.